I'm Anthony Geathers.
And I'm Gregg Weiss.
And we are the hosts of CASE-4-BASS.
Hey, this is Ed Hed from Root Atlas. I play 4-string in Root Atlas. And you're watching CASE-4-BASS. Rock on!
Tonight, we have Ed Hed from Root Atlas.
What's going on?
And
What's going on?
Round of applause for Ed Hed.
We want to welcome Ed. Welcome to the show. Anthony, kick it off.
Here we go, Ed Hed. So let's talk about how long have you been playing bass for, and what got you into the instrument?
All right, so I've been playing bass since about 1989. And what got me into the bass? So growing up, I was really into the hardcore and punk scene, especially in and around New York. And so, like, you know, bands like Bad Brains and Kraut and all them.
Wait, hold on a second. You said the Bad Brains. That's one of my favorite bands. I have to do a We're Not Worthy.
We're not worthy.
Yes.
We're not worthy.
Okay. All right, back to you, Ed.
All right. Well, so interesting. So I think that I saw you, Anthony, back when we were in high school, play in some band in the auditorium that had a Bad Brains feel to it.
Yes.
Am I making that up?
No, you're not making it up. Actually, you're absolutely correct. Yes.
What band? What was that?
I can't remember the name of the band. I just remember that's when
Scatterbrains.
Yeah. Well, I did a thing with Scatterbrain, by the way. But I remember that's when Eye Against Eye came out. That was, and I remember just it being the coolest thing. I heard that, I was like, man, I love his stuff. Yes, so you're absolutely correct.
So how about So I remember that from way back in the day. And another story about you, Anthony, is so I'm a punk rock kid in our high school, and I don't know if you remember, but there was I took a media class, and I was a DJ in the school. The school in Ramapo had a radio station. I don't know if you guys
did.
Yes,
absolutely.
It did.
Yep.
It was like 1 watt or something like that. It was in the school, but so I'm taking this class, and one morning when we were all getting to school, there was like a 40-minute period, like from 7:30 to 8:10 or something like that. Well, we're all getting into school, and I played a whole punk rock set. I DJ'd it in school for everybody, including you guys, if you were there. So if you ever heard punk rock in the morning, that was me.
That was you.
I don't think anybody else in our high school was doing that.
Well,
thank
you for molding our brains.
I was into stuff like Sex Pistols and Minor Threat, Bad Brains, Dead Kennedys.
I'm enjoying all that.
Rush. It was 24/7 Rush. I didn't hear another band for 3 years.
Yep. I hate to say it, you look a little bit like Greg Ginn from.
That's interesting. That's interesting. I love Black Flag.
Yes.
But now, so here's another story, an Anthony Geathers story. I'm getting to this. So he was in high school. I'm a punk rock. We used to go to tons of shows at CBGB, and I was collecting all sorts of punk rock records. And I was like, you know, when you're a kid, you're into like, let me see, like a small box, right? We're talking a small box. And so, but I went to some party, and there's like this band playing in the living room, and at this party, it was maybe at Jason's house.
Jason Silver's house.
Jason Silver's house.
Jason Silver's house. Yes.
What a throwback.
And there's this band. There's this band playing Rush covers, and they had this wicked ass bass player who was you. And
That's crazy.
And I heard you guys playing like YYZ and Red Barchetta, and I was
as soon
like,
as you said it, it was YYZ. Because remember, we were like, I was running around the living room. I just remember having a blast playing that.
it was amazing. So I'm a punk rock kid, and like here you guys are playing Rush, and it totally. I went out and got moving pictures after that, and started exploring Rush because there was a punk. So don't take this wrong now, but there was a punk rock flavor or element to what you were doing, and I thought it was amazing.
Yes, thank you.
You mean he was like Punky Lee, like
kinda. It was high energy. It wasn't.
I've seen Anthony play, and that's a great way to describe him.
Punky Lee. I might
Punky Lee.
I might adopt that actually. I like that a lot. Punky Lee. That's kind of badass. Yeah,
Okay,
but I remember that party very well. That was a fun party, actually.
It was fun.
Jason
it was fun.
Through the parties.
And so check it out. It made an impression on me. I remember back then. And so you're asking me, like, when did I get into bass? I didn't play in bands back in high school, but I saw like you doing that. And I was into bands like Bad Brains. And I really like all the punk bands that are also playing reggae and reggae grooves, like the Clash and the Rush and bands like that. Yeah.
Yep.
And Bad Brains falls in that, and like anything where the bands were blending like funk with punk rock, and so you get like Gang of Four and Gang of Four.
Yes, very time. I love Gang of Four.
Honk, yes.
Yep.
And and like Public Image. Public Image brought in some dubby bass lines as well, Jaw Wobble, and this is the stuff that I was listening to. And so when I was in college, I was mostly playing guitar. I'm a guitar player first, and I was mostly playing guitar. But then here's the truth. This is fun. So it was 1989. I had a girlfriend, Renata. It was her name, and she was a singer, and she played keyboards. And she said, "Edward, I want you to play bass in my band." And she gave me a bass. She gave me, wait for it, a Hondo bass.
Hey.
But it was a bass. And so I started that. I was like, okay, I'll play bass. And I started playing, playing along with Gang of Four records and stuff, and like mostly post-punk. And then we broke up. So I never played with her.
She sang a lot in Rockland County, didn't she?
She did.
Renata. I know the name. And there was a Renata who was playing. You know who played for her? Mario G. Paglio.
Mario G. Paglio played for Renata. Whoa.
Yeah, a lot of clubs. Whoa. Well, she was singing soul, right?
I guess. I mean, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
we'll just strike this from the conversation. It's just I somehow, because that's when I started playing, and you always knew acts that were always around playing in other gigs. So
she was, when I met her, she was a court officer. If that helps. Like she was a cop.
Well, then you could play at night.
Yes. I didn't see her gig. She played, and I really liked her voice, I have to say. I mean, this was a short-lived thing. Had Thanksgiving with her family. I remember that. This is going to be struck, right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure. but things didn't work out. But I kept the bass, and after that, I kept playing the bass, and probably, I would say, for like a while. I mean, maybe 10 years. I'm still playing guitar, and then it was 1999. I decided I was going to start pursuing some of my musical goals that I hadn't pursued when I was younger, just because I was set. I had an income, I had a job, and so I started playing in bands, and I had this really cool bass that I had acquired in that interim beyond the Hondo, and it was incentive, so I got it repaired, and it's an old Gibson, a 71 Gibson EB3L.
Oh wow! Okay, cool.
Nice.
Cool.
It's pretty sweet. And I had it.
Yeah.
It was destroyed, and I fixed it up, and I started playing it, and found my tone, and I played that bass in bands from '99 until 2009, and then
What did you play it through? What was the amps?
Okay, so I was playing back then. I was playing it in the beginning. It was through an Eden rig.
Ooh,
So
wow!
it was an
High
Eden.
end.
I guess I had some money, and I like, and I was like,
Those
okay.
are good basses. Bass amps. Excuse me.
It was a good starting point for me, and I kind of went with Eden because I was a Mike Watt fan. You know, guys know Watt. I'm sure you do. So I was a Mike Watt fan, and he was playing through Eden rig, so I got an Eden rig. But once I sort of settled in and I started playing some bigger shows, I got an SVT, an 80s SVT, MTI era.
When you had girth, when you wanted to carry it around.
I still have it. I'm still playing it with Root Atlas, and it's 96 pounds. And I'll tell you, it has to be a big gig for me to bring that to a show.
Oh, we understand. I understand. I'd show you my amp, but I'm actually using it as my microphone amp right now. It's a 300 watt Warwick that has weighs 2 pounds.
Oh, you got a Class D.
Yes, a gnome, a 300 watt gnome. So
it's
shout out to Warwick if you want to sponsor us.
Wow. I just recently picked up one of those little Ampeg micros.
Yeah.
And now it has its limitations, but it's in a very small, like I was playing it in a coffee shop. And you know what? It sounds real, like the tone's great.
What kind of cabinet?
I use a little Ampeg 210. It's an SVT 210.
Okay.
They weigh 26 pounds. It's up your alley. 26 pounds.
Yeah. And I got a Hardkey Kickback, a 12 cabinet, and when the amp blew, and eventually
12.
the 12, and then when eventually the original aluminum cone took a dive after 20 years, I replaced it with an Eminence, and it holds 200 watts at 8 ohms, and the match is just insane. Small clubs, I can't get my amp past 2, and I'm feeling it. I'm feeling. You can see the look on my face in the picture behind me. That's me.
200 watts.
It's a 300 watt amp with at 4 ohms, but the speaker holds 200 watts at 8 ohms.
Yep.
So the match between the amp's going to throw out like about 160, 180. And so I have no fear of really pushing it hard, but it's explosive. I really dig it.
All right. So the Ampeg micro head is the same. It's 200 watts, but it's giving like 168 or 180 or something.
At 8 ohms.
At 8 ohms. But if you attach a second cabinet, then it'll go up to like 268 or something like that.
Right.
And then you could play with the drummer. You're
a volume guy. I like that.
Somewhat. I mean, when I was playing my SVT, we played some outdoor gigs, and I ran it at 2 ohms. So if you know the 300 watt SVT,
you patched it up with the 2 cables.
Correct. And I ran 2. I didn't do 2 8s. I did 2 4s, but I put them on their sides. So it was 2 410s.
It was 2 separate cabinets. There's a big thing going around how people do that in one cabinet now.
I've seen that, and I've actually played that in an Ampeg 8x10, where it's like a compartment. There's 2 compartments.
Oh wow!
Yeah. It's interesting.
That is interesting.
Sound. It's a big sound. And
is it loud? Is it full? Is it both? Is it?
So here's the thing about a 300 watt Ampeg SVT. I played it in a theater once, and I had it set on 2. Actually, I'm sorry. Now I'm playing it on 2. I had it set on 5, and I had the sound guy freaked out and like yelled at me to turn it down. But that was what we practiced with, because it's volume. So all right. So here's the thing. All right, if we're playing in a little club, it's one thing. But when you're playing for impact. I mean, Motorhead did that. When you're playing for impact, My Bloody Valentine, the English shoegaze band, they play at really high volumes. I've played in a couple bands that sort of you wanted to feel it and you wanted to feel the sound.
Yeah.
And it was really big. Now, the thing is, the audience need to know that because they have to wear earplugs. You'll still feel it in your body.
Well, you should have been in Hopewell Junction on Friday night.
What was going on there?
Or I was.
Oh.
Yeah, we play loud.
Oh, okay. So, and what are you playing?
My guitar player has no safety valve. It's always on 10. And then if they tell you to turn it down, he turns it up.
Well, it's better tone that way, right? That's what they'll tell you.
Well, we're a tone band. We're definitely a tone band. So
I wouldn't say that I'm a volume guy. I would not say that. I would say that in two bands I played in, we were going for volume, but especially one for sure. But SVTs are amazing for tone. If that, I play a P bass. That's what I mostly play these days. I have my Gibson that I played, but my main
passive.
It's an American P bass. I want to say 2005, something like that.
Oh wow!
And I put
Maple Neck. You're a Maple Neck guy, right?
No, I know you guys are. I saw that.
Oh yeah, I am. I know Anthony is.
This has a rosewood neck.
Okay.
The rosewood, so
we don't hold that against you.
But I have a Mustang that has a maple neck, so that'll make you happier.
No, it's cool. It's all a personal feel, and what happens with bass a lot is it always gets lost in the sauce when you're with other bands. And I usually play in 3-piece bands, and that's why you look at my picture. I'm always high up on the register, thinking I'm like Jack Bruce in it or something. But it's a lot of it comes down to application. So in that respect, there's a lot going on with it's all about feel. I mean, like I didn't get into maple necks until somebody at Alto put one in my hand, and at that point I was like, I'm never not going to play a maple neck, but it also a lot of times, so that'll limit your it's going to limit what happens when you play in other groups. Other groups don't want your brightness.
No, they don't.
Well, okay. So a way I like to think about it is this. Here's our EQ spectrum. And when we have the whole ensemble, you want all parts of the spectrum represented. And if everybody's in the upper mids, then it's going to get muddy. But we bass, we're always the lowest thing. I mean, the second to us is the kick drum. Yep. Maybe you can get some low stuff with synths, but bass we need to occupy that low end for a full meal, for a full meal.
There's a band name.
Full meal.
Let's get back into what influences you. As far as, so we know that you definitely, Root Atlas is definitely what you stated to be a trip hop type of band style. And then but then you more or less, and then you originally described it as Pink Floyd meets
Massive Attack.
Massive Attack. Okay,
so that's not Root Atlas. That was the band before that, which I had for about
that was the pre-COVID band.
Pre-COVID band called Quantum Beings of the Miraculous.
Quantum Beings of the Miraculous. How do you fit that name on a flyer? It's a lot.
No, I was going to say on a jacket pin.
Yep. Carefully.
It
sounds like it.
That's
carefully.
Excellent.
Okay. Small font.
So what are you listening to now, as far as bass players, as far as influences of music? Because you have a very eclectic background. And by the way, thank you for being. I like the fact that I might have influenced your decision making and playing a little bit.
That's a case for bass first. That
sweet.
That unbeknownst, you've spawned a bass player with punk aspirations.
I like that. Yep. So what are you listening to now? And what are you playing now as well?
So I listen to a lot of dub reggae and so dub, world music, and I mean like world psychedelic music, like stuff from Turkey and Sweden. So I really like psych bands, like modern psych bands. So you're asking me about what am I listening to like currently? I also listen to a lot of electronic dance music, stuff stuff like Spungle.
Okay,
familiar with Spungle? Desert Dwellers. This is all like sort of tribal psychedelic dance music.
Okay.
Yeah, you're gonna have to catch an interview we did with who's that? Anthony? Alex?
Oh, Alex Bronson. He was Alex was a tour manager briefly with Lauryn Hill.
And Living Color.
And Living Color for a little bit, yeah. So he's got a pretty good background there.
But his start was he was playing in techno bands and EDM.
Yep.
And he was the only live player on stage, and he was playing off of not so much click tracks, but drum beats.
Drum beats. Yeah.
And he's got it's a fantastic interview where he definitely talks about playing in depth about these things. And but he was doing this in 88, 89, when we were I was anyway, getting, into bands and the whole live scene. But it's one of the things about the Case for Bass is the more you watch, the more you learn.
Yes, absolutely.
I totally agree with that. And I've been like going to see shows since I was been like 14. I mean, we would sneak off and sneak into CBGBs and we were seeing punk bands at in the high schools. And again, in high school, it was like, I was all about hardcore and punk. But when I went to college, I got into stuff like U2 and
U2. Where'd you go to school?
I went to Ithaca College.
Oh, nice.
Do you see the sweatshirt in my picture?
What?
I went to Ithaca
God.
College.
I didn't even notice that. That's hilarious.
Is that hilarious?
So did you go to Ithaca?
4 years.
You did not.
I did. I took Steve Brown's classes.
You did.
I took both pop and rock. I took pop and rock, and I took surveying jazz history.
Oh my gosh.
I was a business major at IC, lived in the West Tower, lived in the Hudson Heights, eventually lived off campus near Cornell on Slaterville Road. And it's good to see a fellow bomber do well. Simeon's, the dugout. You can't even explain what the dugout was.
Dimes.
I'm Dragons, Anthony.
So do you remember the haunt? Do you remember the haunt?
Well, all the time. I mean, my coolest experience at the haunt was I got dragged up the ladder to the band room.
Yeah.
I was sampling foreign substances with
with who?
Nakatar Murphy.
Oh, get out! Speaking of Blues Brothers, all this competition was all
he played there. Yeah, but I'm going to mention the only two words that signify the haunt, and that was Urban Blight.
Totally.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but you didn't know Urban Blight was producing the Beastie Boys.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's in the record. They're all over that record.
Yep.
All right. So the owner of the haunt at the time, when I was there, was their manager. John Peterson was their manager.
Oh, really?
And that was the deal.
See, I never got that deep into it because the whole crowd scared me. The whole Urban Blight crowd was off the hook.
Really? Urban Blight is like, they're not like, it isn't like.
They had to be in Ithaca. They owned Ithaca. I mean,
really?
Dude,
the thing about Urban Blight is I would never think of them as being in this band.
See, the only coolest thing next to the haunt was Dos Amigos.
Mm-hmm. Good margaritas.
Oh, sopapillas. The greatest.
So here's the thing about the haunt, though. So I worked at the haunt. I was a bartender there, and
God!
And I was an assistant manager in my senior year. So that was the year that Red Hot Chili Peppers played there.
Yes.
And do you remember a reggae band named Moja Naya?
Yeah.
They were great.
Yeah. I mean, look, we should do a whole show on the Haunt, because first of all, the Haunt still exists, number one.
And it's third iteration. It's
third, yeah, well, you know, it's on the lake. They always get Jerry Cantrell out there. And you know, but the original Haunt is, you can make a movie about the bands, the scene, about the entire culture that existed. I mean, when they had punk night, you went out cut and bloody.
So all right, so I gotta clue us in on a couple things with that. So I got the gig at the Haunt because I had a punk rock radio show at Ithaca College.
Oh, you were on ICB?
I was
friends with Brother Mike.
Oh my God! So we do know we have.
100%. We're on two sides of the coin.
Brother Mike. Oh my God! So I had a punk show. I took it over from Brother Mike. He was doing it. It was called Falling Spikes when he was doing it.
Wow.
So I took it over from him, and when I took it over, it was called The Sound and the Fury with Ed Hed.
Oh my God!
Did you ever hear it?
Yes.
Do you remember?
Well, this is why it's all ringing true, and I'm going, why is all this ringing true? Because we were in this same culture, but you know, Ithaca was a big foggy blur, if you let it.
Yeah.
I lived in the West Tower on the second floor, and there were 7 floors of girls. I was busy.
Yeah. I was in the terraces. So
yeah. Oh, which one? You weren't in Terrace 10.
I don't know if I remember.
You weren't in Terrace 10 because you weren't a music major.
Terrace? No, I wasn't. I was a business.
Yeah, that was
back
crazy.
then or something. Yeah.
All right, guys, I'm going to take you out of your days of reminiscing at Ithaca and bring you back to
right.
show.
Well, just to wrap that up, it's where I discovered my bass. It's where somebody left a bass in my room, and you live down, a couple doors away down in the Hudson Heights in the, these apartments. And now I'm playing my bass, and I'm playing Zeppelin 2, and I'm playing Dark Side of the Moon, and everything before I knew what I wanted to do with music, let alone play electric bass, was I had an electric bass in my room. And my friend came to me, and I'm still friends with him to this day. And he's like, dude, am I ever going to get my bass back? And I'm like, well, don't you want my guitar? Just take my, no. He goes, I want my bass back. And so that's what got me started. But Ithaca was a very culturally vibrant, heavy music scene that would inspire many, many, many players. Oh, yeah. In fact, Huey Lewis went there.
I don't think I knew that.
Yeah. Did you see him live when he was there?
No, I saw Santana.
You were there the next year.
I saw Santana in '84.
Yes. Well, that changed my life. Alfonso Johnson. Alfonso Johnson played
Amazing.
Purple Haze.
He did Purple Haze. I was just going to say he did Purple Haze. Absolutely.
I live by that. And then what's funny is 2 years later, I met him at Robbie's. He did a clinic.
Oh.
And I was talking to him about that, and he was just like so far ahead of everybody and everything, and still is. But yeah, he did. That was one of the greatest shows I ever saw.
Yeah.
Because they got rained out. They got rained out of playing in the courtyard, and
I don't remember.
They ended up in the Ben Light Gymnasium.
Yeah.
And they played a 3-hour straight set.
It was amazing. And when he did that, the Purple Haze, that whole bass solo, he like stepped forward, and it was like massive.
Yeah, wow. on a 4-string fretless, it was like, that was life changing, and he knew it.
Oh, it was amazing.
Awesome. All right, guys.
So by the way, just for you, Anthony, just to tell you,
yes,
Bad Brains played at the Haunt when we were there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And that was in the era when it was Chuck from Faith No More.
Oh, yes. Chuck was singing a little bit.
And Mackie was on the drums.
Yep. There was a period where HR and the drummer, Earl, is his brother. So if HR has an issue with Dr. No and Daryl, then Earl goes, then Earl and HR will depart the band. So there was a period of time. Actually, I think the making of Eye Against Eye, Mackie from the Cro-Mags was playing drums
Mhm.
on a lot of those songs.
But by the way, Mackie also played in, wait for it, Urban Blight.
Yes,
Oh wow,
that's right. That's right.
He was the drummer of Urban
they were
Blight.
incredible. Just
Yeah.
the fact that they didn't become the world's #1 band in every genre is still like the mega mystery. And you talk to people about Urban Blight, and they go, "Who?"
Well, you know
Yeah.
why? Because they didn't have a commercial, and they weren't commercially
For-
viable.
Right.
Yes, that's
But
the
the world
thing.
was changing. The world was
Yeah.
changing.
But we got them.
But
We got them, and we loved them, and we enjoyed. There's a bunch of ska bands coming through Ithaca at the time. David
Yes.
Watts and the Great Train Robbery was
Oh
another
my
one.
God, yes.
Yep.
Remember them? They were really good. I actually have their vinyl. I have that album on vinyl. But okay. So
Yep.
just get back on track.
All right,
So-
more about you, Ed.
yes, back to you, Ed. So wait, before we actually finish, are you familiar with Big D and the what's the name of the band? Ska band. They're scattered, but the bass player lives in Poughkeepsie. Great jazz bass player, but he's a big ska head. Big D and the Kids Table, I think it's called. Well, cool, Big D and the Cool Kids Table. But they did a thing recently with Fishbone. I think
Oh,
recorded
okay.
it.
Fishbone's been
Yeah.
has been coming around. Played in Denver recently as well.
Yep.
Love
All right,
Fishbone.
so oh my God, it's huge.
So-
Dude, we can go on for hours about Fishbone. I can't. Yeah, I found it about them when I was what 16, and I started going to the city shows courtesy of the Village Voice back in the day. I started going to those shows. Yep. So Steel Pulse when I was 14. I stuck
Wow.
it in the club. Yep. Oh
Okay,
yeah.
so back then, like
They
Steel
played
Pulse,
that, yeah.
that was like their original lineup, and
Yep.
ooh, I'm a big fan. So I'm a really big fan of UK reggae, the whole UK
Yes.
scene. And Steel Pulse are just like they're so like melodic and
Yes.
big. I'm a big fan of roots reggae and
Yes.
some of the modern bands. Midnight.
Yes. The Midnight. Yep.
One of my favorite things in the last 10, 20 years, Midnight. Amazing. Just really like they have like really long, deep grooves. And
Yep.
it's Ron Benjamin, the bass player, drives that. And
Yep.
it's deep, like long. They'll play the songs for like 10, 15 minutes.
Oh, they play these really long tracks. Everything's like
So that to
Oh, yeah.
me feels psychedelic.
It is.
When a track goes, when a song goes and takes you on a journey, especially, when you're feeling like that down tempo thing, that is where I'm at these days. Again, Greg, I'm not pigeonholing myself. I'm absolutely not. But that's
No.
That's kind of the stuff that I'm playing these days. It's like sort of like down tempo, very groove based,
Yep.
dubby,
Yes.
and like long, deep grooves.
It's very hypnotic. That's the way I would describe it as very hypnotic.
Yes.
I'm
Literally
gonna
just keep on going with
cross-pollinate
it. It's
here
awesome.
on CASE-4-BASS, and it's one of the things that I had learned from a previous guest, Doug Pinnick, and he talks about how the greatest thing being in charge of power, playing bass, was that when you find that groove and you play those same notes for 7.5 minutes, and that you let the other players generate their own identities, and that you're running the band by holding this bottom, and that you don't change your note and you don't alter your groove, and it's where you find your strength as a musician, and specifically in your role as a bass player.
Yes.
And I the more this goes on, the more I'm just going to keep reflecting what I've heard from other bass players, and learning from it, because 2 nights later I'm playing out down in Nyack, and it's like all those things he said just started popping in my head, and I'm like, I got the power. I'm going to lay the groove. I'm going to play the same 4 notes for the next 5 minutes, but it works.
Oh, okay, yes, as long as you do it with feeling and vibe, right?
And
it's if you're
it's our
bored,
second nature.
if you're bored with those 4 notes, it's not going to work.
No,
but
no.
If you lean into it and you feel it, then it's like it's good. It's like what you said, Anthony. It's hypnotic and meditative.
Yep.
And it feels good, and it just you don't really want it to stop.
Absolutely. Think in terms of when Sly and Robbie would do dub. Like it's just the drive. I remember a reggae bass player, told me a long time ago. He said it's kind of like, he said, because I kept trying to play funk, I kept trying to put funk in the reggae, and he got really, really offended, and he kept saying to me, Anthony, fuse the BS with the BS drum. He was thinking in terms of driving 10 miles an hour and keeping the car straight. Just keeping it straight. Just keeping it straight as possible.
You're speaking, okay, so what you're speaking to now, which is one of the things that I love about dub and reggae, as well as post-punk, is the role that the bass plays in those styles. And again, I'm not pigeonholing myself, but those styles, what you see with the bass is the bass stands on its own. Like in reggae, the reason that, like what dub is, and I'm just going to explain this, right? A dub version of reggae is when you take the bass and the drums and you push them up in the mix and you drop everything else down and you put snippets in.
Yep.
Little snippets of voice, snippets of guitar, snippets of horn. But it's mostly the bass and the drum. It's the rhythm section. And the bass is melodic and it stands on its own.
Yep.
And that, I think, made me fall in love with the bass, to be honest. Okay. Right. But like, it was the lineage, like post-punk did that to a certain extent.
Sure.
Some of those bands like Jaw Wobble's bass lines stand on their own for Public Image. And and you see it in dance music as well. The bass is like, dare I say, like the lead instrument. And it's not and it's not that, and again, I play a little bit differently, I think, than maybe what you guys do. Like I don't shred.
Okay.
I'm focused on the groove, and I'm not saying that I don't move. I don't just sit on the root note. But it's not. I'm not trying to play guitar on the bass. I'm focused on that low end, like thinking of the EQ spectrum, like the low end of the spectrum. I'm making sure I'm hitting those notes. I mean, I'll hit and I'll play in the mids too. I don't usually play up the neck. I usually play in the middle and on the low side of the neck.
Okay.
But like we're almost in a way like we're melodic enough so that the guitar or the synths or the voice can do anything over the top of us. And here we are driving that 10-mile-an-hour bus. It's going 10 miles an hour, but it's on its own. It can stand.
Yep, and you're keeping it straight.
Yeah.
Actually, I want to comment on what you said about Jabba Wobble. I was listening to Seattle in the gym a couple of days ago.
Oh yeah.
And I was listening to it in a pair of Sennheiser headphones, and just hearing that, and then he starts singing. It's just the way he's saying the track, the bass. And I'm listening to it again in these Sennheiser headphones. I'm walking around the gym looking like a maniac. I'm sitting in the corner, like in between sets, and I'm kind of known for that at the gym that I go to. But if I hear something that drives me, I just stop working out. I kind of go, and I just keep doing that. Okay, then I hop back on the set again. Yeah, but I know exactly where you're coming from in that sense. It's like that. It is that drive, and it is being able to drive that bus. But I love his comparison when he said to me, "It has to be able to stay at 10 miles an hour, and you can't veer off the road. The goal is to keep it straight."
Yeah, it's important. We're like holding it, and we're holding it, and the way that we can do that, I mean, is when we have linkage with our drummers. And I play different instruments. I play, I play guitar. My favorite. Okay, I play guitar. I play some synth. I've sang a little bit. I play that. That's a Turkish saz.
I was biting my tongue to ask you what was sitting
I was
on the
gonna
wall.
think it looked. I thought first.
That's what I do. I always look on the wall.
I thought it was a bazooki. I for a
It's like
second thought it was a bazooki, which
it's
is
like a
Greek.
bazooki. It's like a
Yep.
bazooki, but it's microtonal. Bazookies are like have a neck like a Western neck. This is microtonal, so there's like half frets on it. So, but my favorite experience. So I play all these instruments. My favorite is playing bass with a drummer where we are locked in and we've got that sort of mind meld, that telepathic connection.
Telepathic, where you're creating that level of being hypnotic.
Yeah.
Well, once again, I'm biting my tongue. You're a very lucky guy.
You are, dude.
We're not gonna, I'm not gonna go further than that because Anthony knows my story. So you're very lucky to have, who you're playing with to create what you want out of your music.
Okay.
And Greg's not saying that blindly. We're saying that because we really mean it. Because like I don't smoke or drink, so for me, I rely very heavily on the drummer. If I can't vibe with the drummer, I have a bad night, and I don't believe in bad nights. But I want to murder them.
Yeah.
So it's important, and I think a really good band has a really good rhythm section. It's not just the good drummer. It's not just the good bass player. It's not the ripping, shredding guitar player. It's that we're the engine.
Yes,
we're the engine. And when you can get that linkage, and like there's differences in drummers, and I think it has to do with listening.
Yes.
When someone listens and you listen to each other, you can stop on a dime, even though you're improvising.
Yep.
Stop right tight, and it's like, oh, it's really pleasing. But that's my favorite experience in all of music, is playing with the drummer where we are like in simpatico, we're like it's tight. And I've got that right now in Root Atlas with the guy I'm playing. He's good. And I've played with a couple of drummers over the years that I felt that way about. And I'm a little bit fussy that way, maybe, but it's important.
No, it's good.
It's important.
It is important.
Oh, it is important.
And it's hard to find, which is, I think, your point is that where you were going to go. That's hard to find. Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
Greg can do an entire episode about. He can do an hour.
Drummer compatibility. Yeah, I can start a whole podcast on that.
I think yours would be called drummer incompatibility for the most part.
Well, if he's watching, I'm not talking. So
no need to.
Yeah,
don't kiss and tell.
Long story short was I learned about pocket and groove from, I don't know if you guys ever knew Howie Zucker. And Howie Zucker was like the first guy I ever saw play an electric bass. And Howie was sneaking out, going into Manhattan, and instead of CBGB's, he was going to this club called McKell's. And that's where Stuff had their home, and that was Steve Gadd, and that was Gordon Edwards and Richard T, and a lot of big guys. It was Paul Schaefer's hangout.
It sounds like another version of Cafe Wah.
Well,
maybe more modern.
Cafe Wah is Bob Dylan. I mean, I'm talking about jazz.
No, Cafe Wah is Bob Dylan, Larry Graham, Jimi Hendrix.
That's not stuff. That's not stuff.
And Stuff then you had the 70s funk players.
I'm talking about McKell's and McCoy Tyner. I'm talking about McCoy Tyner.
Where's McKell's, or where was it?
Well, it's dead, but it's 97 in Columbus. It was uptown.
Okay, like Upper East Side.
So there was a rotating band of musicians called Who It Is. And the main players were Steve Gadd, Richard T, and generally it was Will Lee. And when Will Lee couldn't make it, the substitute players that I saw were Stanley Banks from George Benson's band. And the drummer who was sitting in was an undiscovered Dave Weckl. And these were just monsters. These were like mega heavies, and it was the only guy I saw in a 200 square foot room with a 7-piece Yamaha kit mic'd. and he was running his own board because he was running all the tone into his headphones, and it wasn't what was going out, it's what was coming in. And he was just in his own world. But you would see these guys play, and the whole thing about the band was they only played 8 songs, and they played it straight in the first set, modified in the second, and off the hook in the third.
The same 8 songs?
Same 8 songs.
Oh, that's cool. That's clever.
By the third set, you didn't recognize anything. I mean, it was
clever.
just, it was blurry. It was just, but in any event, to circle back, the whole point was I learned about pocket and groove. I learned about New York pocket and groove. And there was a guy, you can Google him, Wayne Pezwater, and he ended up playing with the Honey Drippers record, but he played for 60 different acts. And what I learned essentially is how to be that pocket, whether or not your drummer is or isn't there.
Oh.
And what happens, and what happens is I ended up gluing to the guitar player. So I could be my pocket. I can blend with the guitar player, and in the back of my head, I'm hearing the drums in all the wrong places. And what I used to do is get upset, but now I get even.
Okay. All right. Let me ask you this. So, Ed.
Yes.
As far as your basses right now.
Yeah.
How many? First of all, how many do you have?
How many basses?
Yes.
Got 1, 2, 5. I think. We see. I have a Gibson EB3L.
Okay.
Long scale from 71. That's my favorite. I've got a P bass, American P bass from 2005. I've got a Mustang, a little Mustang. It's a PJ bass, and I'll tell you more in a minute.
We like hybrids.
Okay, it's a PJ bass that I recently got for a reason, and then I have this little Ibanez bass as well. It's an Ibanez micro bass. Have you ever seen those?
Never talk about it. I've been thinking about that bass for 2 years.
So
actually 4.
I got it because I was playing. During the pandemic, I was playing outside in a park, and we had a busking situation where we were playing jamming in a park every week while we were all in lockdown. We would show up in the park and play, and I found a way to have this little sort of ensemble of sorts, and we were just jamming.
What'd you do for power?
So we didn't use a generator. You can get like a battery. It's like a lithium Are you there? Did I lose you?
Where?
He's here. I may be frozen, but you can hear me, right?
All right. Yeah. Like you can get. It's a lithium battery. It's the size of a lunchbox. You can find them. They're silent, and they allow you to plug a 3-prong plug-in, and it is how you busk. And you can plug. There's a whole lot of ways to run power. So what I did is I had 2 PA speakers that were both battery powered, but I could plug them into the power bank if I wanted. Nice. Then I had we had several different guitars. I would actually ran the bass through a Sans amp and then into the speakers, really low volume. But okay, so we were able to run everything in the park, and there's also some other ways to run like effects off of like little battery packs. I could tell you about that if you're really interested. But we're going to the park. We're playing outside. Sometimes it would rain. Sometimes there was even snow, and I didn't want to bring any of my nice guitars out, so I got a little Ibanez micro bass, and it's like I don't even think it's 30 inches. I think it's like 28 inches. It's a little tiny thing, but I put flat wounds on it, and I've been playing it, and it's like, I mean, it's not a fancy bass, but it plays really nice, and it's wood, and it's nicer than you would think. So it's again, like I didn't want to bring my nice P bass or Gibson huge stuff out into the park, and sometimes I would let people play my bass, and like I'm not gonna let people play those. So anyway, so I got this little Ibanez micro, and I've been playing that one as well. But so
it's a short scale, right?
It's a short scale, yeah. So I have 2 short scales, 2 long scales, and then I have a 5-string that somebody gave to me. That was a gift.
Nice.
So like an off-brand. I don't, it was a gift.
It's not about the brand. It's about what you bring to it.
Absolutely. So I mostly play, like I've been playing 3 basses, and then I just got this Mustang because I was looking for another short scale, but I wanted it to sound like my P bass.
Oh wow. Okay.
So I'm doing. So actually, I think I was writing to you a little bit about this the other day.
Yes, you were. Yep.
Yeah. So I've got it's like a PJ Mustang bass, and it's got a maple neck. And somebody put in, when I got it, it was used some Seymour Duncan pickups, and I don't like the way it sounds. I need to do some work on it, and so I will be doing some work on it. But again, I want it to sound like my P bass, but lighter.
All right, cool.
Strings?
Let's talk strings first. Then last question, inspiring, and then so you mentioned flat wounds. Okay, so go ahead, Greg, you're up.
Did I mention? I might have missed where he said flat wounds. I was.
He played flat wounds on the micro bass
and on the P bass.
Oh, really?
And on the P bass.
Yeah, yep. I missed that. Is that a labella thing or?
Yes, it's labella. Yep.
Shout out to Newberg.
Ding ding ding.
Yeah.
Ding ding ding. I mean, do you play labellas across the board?
For flats, I do.
Okay, for flats you do.
For flats, and but I put on my Gibson, I have round wounds.
Okay.
And it's a funny bass. So the Gibson, it's like the E string is like muddy, and it's got this huge. If you've never seen the bass, it's got a huge mud bucker on it up at the neck.
Yeah.
And it just requires that you have to play it in a certain way, and you have to. So it does better with
round wounds
than with flat. Because the flat, the flat wounds give a little bit more of that, like a little bit of a deeper hum, a little bit of a deeper tone. And I like being able to slide with it as well. It probably feels a bit like a fretless, even though it's not fretless.
Cool. You're sliding.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I
love my labellas.
It feels they're delicious. I mean, and on my little bass, it's like delicious to play, and it's portable and convenient, and
it's deep. So, there's confidence in the strings.
Do you have any video of you playing that bass?
The little one or which one?
The little one.
Do I have any video of me playing it? No, I don't think so. I don't know. I haven't been. I did like we were playing in the park, a park. So I haven't played any club shows in a couple of years. Actually,
and was that illegal at the time?
Yes.
So we're not gonna mention that there could be scant evidence.
So
exactly.
So the way it went was, though, we had the cops called on us like 3 or 4 times, and every time they showed up, I went and dealt with them, and I said, "Hey, this is what we're doing. We're playing. This is the truth, by the way. We're playing meditative music in the park. It was hypnotic, meditative, long improv jams, down tempo. People like the neighborhood liked it. We had like, so what happened was it started off with a couple of us. It was like a drum circle, and then I started bringing instruments, and then we had a bunch of hand drummers, like sometimes like a half dozen hand drummers, bass player. We had several guitar players, a couple singers, and it was like this world music thing happening in a park right near our house, and the neighbors loved it. People loved it. We had people dancing with spinning balls and stuff, and it was lovely. And but there was a couple of curmudgeons in the neighborhood that would call the cops on us. And so every time the cops came, I said, "Hey, this is what we're doing." And they said, "Well, we got complaints, but you're really not doing anything wrong. So turn it down a little bit. Can you turn it down?" And I said, "Sure."
So the cops bought it.
They bought it. And really what we're not supposed to do, and I'm just going to say this, is we're not supposed to have electrified music in the park.
Well, that's the big busking rule.
Right. But we did, and it was so subtle, and there was hand drums, and so maybe they couldn't tell. I don't know.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right,
it was
so
lovely and fun. So there's no video of me playing that, but there's video of me playing my Gibson and my P bass.
okay. All right, my last question to
send it
you,
on.
and this is the last question actually.
All right.
What would you tell an aspiring bass player, those who want to actually, some young kid who approaches you and says, "Hey man, I'm loving the fact that you're doing this cool dub reggae stuff, hypnotic, cool, trippy music." What would you say to that dude, or do that?
That bass is a fantastic instrument that sometimes people think is like a background instrument, but it's the heart, it's the spine. The bass is the spine of our music. And you guys know what I'm talking about. It's the spine, the rhythm. We're part of the rhythm and we're part of the melody. And playing bass is an extremely important role, and sometimes it's understated. Sometimes it doesn't seem like it's that sexy. And then you can go check out John Entwistle or Jack Bruce and realize that, you know, bass players can be like right up front, or here's a great one, or Justin Chancellor of Tool. I mean,
Anthony Geathers.
I really like his bass playing. Ooh.
Even Anthony Geathers. You can check out an Anthony Geathers too.
Or Anthony Geathers, yeah.
I'll take that. But I love Justin Chandler of Tool. I mean, he's, you know, I love what's the name of that song anyway? I'm totally blowing.
That would be
I
know the piece is
fat. I know the piece is fat. Yep.
Schism?
Schism, yes.
Yeah.
That's dead on. All right, everybody. Big round of applause to Ed Hed for being on our podcast. Thank you very much.
Ed, this was an unexpected trip down memory lane.
Yes. Oh, I had to let you guys go and do the Ithaca thing. I was like, all right, let me go get it. Let me go out and get it.
It's actually a music college, and the thing is that it probably spawns a lot more musicians than it makes.
Really?
And because it's a classical school, it was originally an all-girls classical school.
So I thought that they had a big TV program up there as well.
Well, they had Rod Serling started the communications college.
Okay.
And they have an entire major in communications, everything, including, being a cameraman, being a journalist, being, you name it, it was available. And, and every other school of communications is like, oh, what a major. But Ed, were you a communications major?
No, I wasn't, but that was why. So it's ironic. That's why I went there. I went there because I wanted to DJ, and I thought I was gonna. I mean, after Ramapo, I wanted to be a punk rock DJ, and you know what?
Yeah, I'm surprised you're not at ABC or ESPN.
So what happened was
I don't think there's a lot of room for punk rock DJs at either one of those stations.
Oh, you'd be surprised.
Yeah, I mean, I played a lot of music, and I turned a lot of kids. Like this was in 85, 86, 87 is when I was doing it. And I remember turning lots of kids in Ithaca onto punk because I brought my vinyl. I brought my record collection with me, my 45s and my all obscure stuff that you couldn't hear on. There was no internet.
Wow.
They had the greatest reggae show.
Oh, it was, what was it called? It was called
the greatest reggae show.
Hey guys, wait. This is what we're going to do. We're going to actually, I'm going to have you do Ed Hed, you're watching CASE-4-BASS.
You watch CASE-4-BASS.
Then you can actually continue your tryst down memory lane.
Okay.